Hi, in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at a couple of Emacs packages. We're going to be taking a look at the Emacs Desktop Notification Center, Vertico, Marginalia, Consult, Embark, Orderless and FD Diode. So I covered the Emacs Desktop Notification Center in the previous video and actually left a issue on the GitHub page describing some of the things I'd come across, and the developer has actually addressed some of those. So I'm just going to go through some of the issues that are raised with the Emacs Desktop Notification Center, which is a replacement for things like Dunst or the GNOME Desktop Notification Center. So what I'm going to do is come across to my Emacs init.el, and one of the problems that I came across using the ednc was if you're using openwith, which is a package that will set a association between a file extension and the application to open it. So you can say open all JPEGs or PNGs with this image viewer. What would happen is when you got a notification in which contained an image, what would happen is the image would pop up in the external application. So what he's done is actually address that by using this little bit of code here, which is actually used with, I think, GNUS. But basically it's require mm-util add to list inhibit file name handlers open with file handler. And what that will do is it will stop the images that you get with a notification being opened by the external application. So that's the first thing. So what I'll do is I'll actually show you that in action. So what I'm going to do is open this System Crafters video, which is about replacing Ivy and Council with Vertico and Consult. And what I'm going to do is come across and generate a notification here. So what you'll see here is the notification. I've run a script called now playing that uses Empress to query the browser and get the currently playing video. And as you can see here, it's saying System Crafters, player Firefox, and they used to actually show the duration and position, but there's seemed to be something changed with the snap where it doesn't now show that. But what I wanted to show you was two things. Firstly, that you can see here, this is the actual little image that is from the video. And you can see it's not being opened in an external application. And the second fix is that if you now select the image, you can actually now press Control and scroll with the mouse, and you see that the image actually gets bigger. So that's a new feature that's been added. So you can actually select the image and scroll to make it bigger. So if I press Control X40, that will dismiss that notification. So if I come across and go ednc log, you can see here I've actually got some notifications, and I can dismiss them like this. So what I'm just going to do is come down to the bottom down here and show you the Emacs Desktop Notification Center bit of code that I put in. And this chunk of code here, first of all, we start the ednc mode so that it will receive, it listens on dbus and it receives the notifications. This bit of code down here is what opens the notification in that little pop-up window at the bottom. Now, one little fix I do want to come across here is I had an issue because I'm using evil mode. What happened was I had an issue where I couldn't press the keyboard shortcut to dismiss the notification. So what I did was I came up with this little bit of code here that works in conjunction with ednc mode, so that you can press escape and then you can press D to dismiss the notification, or you can press return to invoke the action if it has one on them. So this is a little bit of code that will basically fix the issue with the keyboard shortcuts not working in ednc if you're using evil mode. So Just put this little bit of code in here, and then you'll be able to press escape and then press D to dismiss the notification by striking a line through it. So that's ednc. So that's the first one. I'll just come back out of this video now. So what I'm going to do is actually go through some of these other packages, and I took a lot of this from the System Crafters video and config, and I was previously using iDo as a completion framework, but what I've done is, following the setup in this video, I've switched to using Vertigo, Marginalia, Consult, Embark, and Orderless. So what I'll just do is actually go through some of the nice features with that. So let me just come down to the completion. Where's the completion? I can't remember where I put it. Let me see. Go with collection. Let me just scroll down. Find where I put the bloody thing. The queue. I think it's after this section. Yeah, completion. So this is Vertigo, and what we got here is the completion, and then we got Marginalia, which adds sort of like extra information in the margins of the mini buffer, which I'll show you. And then we got Consult, and what I'll do is I'll just go through sort of randomly showing you some of these. So Consult was, what this has got is a really nice feature. You know, you can press Control XB to switch the buffer. Consult has got a switch to buffer on steroids. So if I press Control XB, which I've remapped, what you'll see down here is I have the switch to buffer, and then I have a list of buffers here and the bookmarks, and we also have stuff down here, extra information about the mode that it's actually in here. And I have the Control J and K keys bound so that they will move up and down this list. And when I move up and down this list, you'll actually see, you get a preview of the, oh, if I, hang on, wrong key. So if I have vterm selected here, if I now press J, you'll see it switches to Scratch, or messages, warnings, init.el. So you actually have extra information here and the ability to actually preview the buffer before you switch to it. So that's really nice. So that was the Consult switch to buffer. So this is how I did that: global set key map, remap, switch to buffer, Consult buffer. And that will remap the Control XB to use Consult buffer instead of the built-in default. And then we also have Consult line. So Consult line, so what I want to do is say I want to search for switch to buffer. So I'm going to come up to here and go Control S and switch to line. And what you'll notice is two things. We have a preview at the bottom showing everything, and the top section will also show what's actually being previewed. So as I move down these lines here with Control J and K, you'll see it actually is give me a little preview down there, but then it shows me in context in the buffer above. So that's really nice, being able to actually sort of preview stuff, switch to buffer there, and then just press return and it will jump to that location. So that's really nice. Another thing is org mode. So if I come across to let me come across to a file, hang on. So this is an org file with a load of bookmarks, and what I want to show you is two ways of searching for this. One with the Control S. So if I do Control S, we get the go to line, and what you'll notice here is if I start typing like Chronicle Live, so what you'll notice with this view is we have the preview down here and it will jump to the section up here, but what it's doing is it's actually showing the full org link. So it's actually showing the the org link and the description. So it's not actually that readable in this mode because it's showing the sort of the link and everything as an expanded org link. So what we want to do instead is run org heading. So if I come across, and what I'm doing here is, you can see I want to search for consult org heading, but because I have this package called Orderless installed, what that will do is it will do fuzzy matching on any section of the string. So normally, if you want to run a command, you actually have to type out the full command, like consult-org heading, which is really annoying because a lot of, to narrow stuff down, a lot of things in the package may be called consult. So, you know, you type consult and then you have to then filter down to the next section. Using this Orderless, we can just match on like org heading. And the other nice thing is it actually remembers the command you've used. So if I run org heading here, consult org heading, what you see now is we have a section saying go to heading, and it's actually listing stuff as it would be in the document, not expanded as an actual link, if that makes sense. So if I now search for like Sasha Chua, what you'll see here is we have a much cleaner way of viewing the actual links here. It's actually showing just the description. It's not actually showing the URL and the description and the bullet and the, you know, the braces. So that's much nicer. And you can come down here. Oh, hang on key, and you can jump. That's really nice. So if I press return, it's going to jump across here, and then I can come across and open the link. So that's the difference between running Control S to go to line, where it will actually show you the URL and the description, as opposed to org heading, which I haven't bound to a key yet, but will actually show you just the description, and also shows you the structure. As you can see, transmission is under my stuff, so it actually shows you the full path, as it were, to the link. So that's really nice. So let's come across. So that was actually Orderless. So that was also showing a bit of Orderless. So we install Orderless, you know, package install Orderless, and we put these little bits of code down here that I got from System Crafters. So Marginalia, I didn't really need to do anything. We just put this bit of code in here, enable Marginalia mode, and if I come across to like, if I come across and search for a file now, what you'll see is we have this extra information in the margin here. So we have the access time, the file size, the permissions, all that kind of stuff. So that's what Marginalia does. It adds extra information into the actual margins. Vertico is the completion sort of framework. You've got Consult, got Orderless, Embark. What this allows you to do is actually run a command after you've selected something. So, for instance, let me go to the desktop. So what I have here is just a file, and there's a keyboard shortcut that you bind to Embark actions, which I've bound to Control, comma. And have I set it up? I can't remember if I've set it up in Diad. Yeah, okay. So when I press Control, comma, what happens is I get this list of actions that I can actually perform on this file, and you can do it in actual org files, you can do it with links, and this is covered much more completely in the System Crafters video. But for instance, what we have down here is things like X consult file externally. So if, for example, this was a image or a video or a file type I wanted to open in another application, I could just press X and it would open the file externally using the default application of the system. And basically what that means is it's going to use something like XDG open. So it's going to open the file, based on its MIME association with an application. So if you've got all images set to be open with GIMP, if you press X, it will open the image with GIMP. So that's Embark, and this is some of the control comma. And if I press control comma again, I think it's going to cycle through them, cycle through the actual list of things down here. So this is a list of actions you can actually perform using them in Embark. So that's quite useful because you could create a list of files and then select them all and then, set an action to be performed. So that's Vertico. We got Marginalia, Consult, Embark, Orderless, which is the matching. And the other one I want to show you now is FD Diode. So it's just come across here. So what I'm going to do is just come across, and let me just set the search. So another thing that you typically want to do is actually search for things. So like search for files. So on GNOME, if I press the keyboard shortcut, it's going to bring up this search thing here, and I can type to search for applications or files. So if I type Emacs, it's going to list the applications, and then what you have here is this little thing saying, showing a list of files that match Emacs. And if I press this, what will it do? It's actually opened you can see what has happened here. So after I click that, it's opened a file manager with a list of files that match that term that I've searched for. So it's opened, was this Nemo, Nautilus? And you can see it's not just a directory with stuff in. This is a directory that's matching loads of different sort of things you can see here. So that's the way it works on GNOME. Let me just toggle that off. So that's kind of all right, but it's not great. And what I want to do now is show you searching on the command line. So typically you'd use something like find. So find, then you specify the directory. Something like iname, star Emacs, star, something like that. And it's going to go through, and you can see that's chundering away and taking a little while to actually complete. Two problems: one, it's slow, and two, it's just output the stuff in the terminal. And yeah, we can scroll back through it and look, but that's still not very convenient. We can't. I mean, you could pipe it into something, into a file or into FCF menu. What I want to do now is actually look at an improvement of find, and that is FD. And you can install that with, I think, at search. Is it called? I think it's actually called FD Find on Ubuntu. Yeah, okay, it's called FD Find on Ubuntu, and that's running that's version 8.3.1. I actually use nixpkg, which is a separate package manager that allows me to install the latest version of applications in an isolated environment, even on something like Ubuntu. So I'm running Emacs 30, and I can run all the latest versions of things. So I installed FD using nixpkgs, and it has a much simpler syntax. So if I want to search for Emacs, I can just search for FD Emacs and then tilde. I think that's the format. And you see now that spat everything out much faster than find, much simpler syntax. And you can see it's actually color coded everything. So this is the find output here, which is kind of lame and slow. And then here we have the FD. So let's have a look at the different syntax. And just scroll back up here. Where was it? Yeah, so the syntax for find is find, then the path you want to find, dash iname, you know, double quotes, asterisk, Emacs, bit of a mouthful, but bit long to type. Whereas the syntax for FD is simpler. FD, what we're searching for, and then the path. Now it's output all of this. Next, what I want to show you is the diad package, which is really, really nice. So let me just switch back to a scratch buffer here. So what we got here is FD diad. So I'm just going to run meta x FD. So you can see, because I'm using Orderless, I can just type FD and it's going to match on that, and it remembers the most recent thing I've used. So what happens now is it prompts me to run FD in a specific directory, so I can, type videos or whatever. But for the moment, I'm just going to stick to the home directory. Press return. What do you want to search for? I'm going to search for Emacs. And what you see now is it's opened the buffer in the bottom window with all the results. And one thing I found that I had to change with this package was, by default, it wasn't actually switching to this buffer. I had to manually Control XO into this buffer, so I'm going to show you the fix for that as well. But now what you'll see is that we've got a buffer of all the results from find, and I just quit the buffer. Sorry, I pressed the wrong key. Sod's law. Okay, let's do that again. Emacs, and you can see it's actually remembered the previous argument search term. And I can now come in here and I can just open any of these. I just press that, and you can see it's opened this with an external application. If I want to search for something, here's a video, press that, it opens the video. So this is just like a regular diad buffer. So you can mark all of these. And what you can also do, of course, is you could run Embark on these. So you could select things, and I press Control, comma, and it's actually opening Embark here. So you could select a load of things from this and then run Embark. I'll just quit that. Switch back to this. So that's FD diad. So let's come back across here. And this is I can't remember if Vertico Consult or whatever, this completion here. I just press config, tab, E tab, init, tab, return to open. So let's have a look for the section on FD diad. So I put it under the diad section. Okay, switch to buffer, results automatically. So what I found was, when running FD diad, what would happen is it would open the results up, but the cursor would be focused in the current buffer. So I'd have to press Control XO to then switch to the FD diad results buffer, which was annoying, and I'm lazy. So I didn't want to do that. So I had a little bit look through the code and actually found something that seems to do the job, and that is FD diad display in current window, and by default that's true, that's T. And basically what I did was just copy that bit of code from the package, changed it to nil. Once I'd done that, then the package functioned as I wanted, and it would automatically focus on the buffer results, which is kind of what you want. So let's have a look for that again. So let's say I want to search for some videos that I've done on Emacs, for example. So as I haven't bound this to a keyboard shortcut, because it's using Orderless, you just press meta x FD, really easy. And what I want to do is run FD in a particular directory. So I'm just holding Control, delete, and it's deleting by sort of word. So video, tab, OBS, tab, and then press return to select it. Search for Emacs, bang, gives me the results. And as you can see, the cursor is focused in this buffer. And I can now move through and search for everything and just click turn and open the videos like that. So that's great. And basically this was something I was looking for to replace this sort of built-in GNOME search that I was showing you that I don't particularly like, because as I said, you know, you can search for stuff. So let's just have a quick look at the way GNOME did it again. Let me just toggle the file search back on again. But the way that it works in GNOME is, first of all, you press keyboard shortcut, brings up this massive interface and takes you away from your actual work. So you presented with this egregious interface showing you, you know, massive icons and all these workspaces when you just want to search for something. So again, I type Emacs. It's going to list the applications, and it's going to give you a couple of results, main results down here. Then you come across and press this. This is going to open a window here, and you can see, you'd imagine that this was just a single directory with all these things in it, but it's not. If you see here, the file paths are all different here. It's basically showing you a directory listing with all those results, and it's a bit lame because, you know, because there were folders in here, you have to click in and click back. But then what happens if I go back now, because I'm actually in that thing? So if I go back, is it going to... so I had to click back here and it should take me back to the results. But if I was to click one of these, it would take me into that directory and out of the results. So it's a bit weird how that works. So I wanted to replace the searching for files in GNOME. I don't really use that. And as I said, you could do stuff on the command line, you know, fd emacs like that, and that's going to give you all the results. But yeah, you can see the results here, but you can't actually interact with them. As I said, you could, you know, do something like pipe this into FZF to create another menu to then go through and select things, but then it's tricky to select multiple things. And then how do you actually perform a specific action on them? You know, how do you select all the PDFs and then delete them, or, you know, run some other action, or, you know, select all the video files and delete them? You can't really do much with this output like this, apart from view it. But by using fd-diad, hang on, let's close this. Using fd-diad, so fd will run that back in the this directory. So what happens is it will actually remember the settings from your previous query. So it will remember where you've run the fd-diad and the query that you've actually passed to it. So I want to search for Emacs again. Bang, you can see how fast that is. We've automatically got focus. You've got evil. It's basically a diad buffer, so we can mark all the files. We could narrow it. We can, you know, open things. We could rename files. We could move them. So it's a much better output than even just using FD in the terminal. So using find is a pain because it's a clunky syntax and it's long to write. FD is much faster, gives you much nicer output in the terminal, but still it's just a read-only output unless you pipe it into something, or, you know, start reinventing the wheel to actually I've run out of tea. Trying to get it to do something. So why go through all the hassle of, you know, trying to build an FZF menu and piping the results of FD into it? when using Emacs, you've got this package that will allow you to search super fast using FD and give you the output in a format that you can actually use and perform other sort of actions on. So that's FD, and that's the one change I made down there, switch to buffer results automatically. So that's an overview of these packages. I'd recommend having a look at the video here, replacing Ivy and Council with Vertico and Consult. Also, he's also got some videos on Embark and Orderless, that sort of thing. And there are, where's the crafters config? So let me just come across here and go to web. So org heading, system crafters. I think I've got it down here. Yeah, you can see next one, system crafters down there. Open that up. Crafted Emacs, modules, crafted completion, and this is where I stole a lot of this stuff here for Vertico, Marginalia, Orderless, and Embark. The other thing with Embark and Consult, it will prompt you to install another package. Let me just come back to my .config, Emacs init.el, and the package that I've got installed. So you've got FD Diode, Marginalia, Orderless, Embark, Vertigo. I think it prompted me to install. It prompted me to install another Embark Consult or something. Can't see it listed there. But yeah, those are the packages that I installed, and we just come down to the completion section one more time. So completion, Vertigo directory, we've got some evil key bindings, Control J and K, so we can go up and down in the Vertigo results. Cycle is so that it will allow you to, if you go to the bottom of the list, it will then flip up to the top, and if you go to the top, it will flip to the bottom, if you get the picture. Enabling Marginalia, Consult, that was the remapping Control XB to the Consult buffer. So Control XB will give you this result, and you can press Control J and K to go up and down here, and you will get a preview of the actual buffer before you switch to it. So that's really nice. Orderless, that's really great. That allows you, as I say, to search for stuff in the mini buffer without typing the full name. So for example, if I wanted to update all the packages, you could type package update -all like that. That's really long. So using Orderless, I can just type update, and you can see it's matching package update all. Amazing, brilliant. So that's really, really great. So you definitely want that one. Embark is the one where you can perform actions and stuff. I haven't really quite got into that as yet, but the combination of those packages is really great. And then the other one was the vterm. There was two things. There was the Diode FD. So this was the setting for Diode FD, so that it automatically switches to the results buffer. And then at the bottom, oh no, hang on, it's open with. Yeah, let's come across to open with. Yeah, so this is what you need to add. If you're using open with and the Emacs desktop notification center, you want to add these two lines here. And what that does is it prevents open with from opening the images in a notification with an external application. So you can see here I have all these images set to be opened with nsxkiv. And if I didn't have this set up, what would happen is I'd get a notification with an image in. It would open that image in an external application. So that fixes that with ednc. And again here, Emacs Desktop Notification Center. This is the section to open it in a little buffer at the bottom. And this was the little fix that I came up with to get the keyboard shortcuts working in conjunction with evil mode. So if I get a notification in, let's just generate a notification. So notify, send, test message. You see I get this come up down here, and I can dismiss that with Control-X 4.0. And if I switch to the ednc buffer, ednc log here, what you see is I've actually got the message, and if I press escape so that I'm not in insert mode, I can now press D to delete that message, as you can see through the strike through down there. So that's how I fixed that issue with ednc log. And again, if you have a notification with an image in it, you can now control, if you click on it and press control and use the mouse to scroll up and down, the image will actually get bigger. So that's a wrap up of all the packages that I've installed recently. So again, check the System Crafters. Mike Szymanski's also done a video on Vertico, Consult, Embark, that sort of thing. I'll put links to all these packages down here. Vertigo, Marginalia, Consult, Embark, Orderless, and FD Diode, as well as the links to the System Crafters video and config file. So hope that helps out, and yeah, I'll definitely have a look at these packages because they really do make a nice addition to Emacs. Switching, having the buffers switching here is really nice. The actual ability to sort of search through files with the org heading. So again, consult org heading. So I can just type, org heading, just matching that. And that gives you a little prompt down here. And as you can see, Control J and K to come down here, and it will actually jump to that position in the document. And that's different from running Control S for go to line, which, as I said, in an org document will actually show you the full length, including the brackets and the stars, with the URL and description. So that's not as nice to use to search through org documents, because it shows you the format as opposed to the org heading, which actually shows you just the description and the structure. So that's, I think, what was that, Consult or Vertigo? I forget. But whatever it is, it's great. And again, I think one of my favorites is the FD Diode. It's super fast. You can just run it in a particular thing here. So, desktop. I want to search for frames because I know that's the file on the desktop. And you can see here, it's actually giving me the result. And, I can now sort of interact with it, rename it, do whatever, you would in a diode buffer, run Embark. So again, that's a much better, more useful output with the FD command than just running it in the terminal, because if it's in the terminal, it's just read only, you can't do anything with it. Whereas here, you've got a buffer that you can actually interact with. So that's really nice. I don't think there's anything else that I've done Emacs related that I can remember, but I'll put all the links to all this under the video. and definitely have a check out of those. I was using iDo for ages and hadn't looked into Ivy or Helm or anything, and had a look at the System Crafters video and Mike Zemansky's video, and had a bit of play around. And these packages working together are really great. I said they just give a bit of oomph, a bit of supercharge to some of the things that perhaps you didn't even think you needed to supercharge in Emacs, but sometimes you find stuff and you think, oh yeah, I didn't know I needed that, and yeah, you add it to your workflow, and it just makes things a lot easier. So I'll put links to all this under the video and my config. So definitely have a check out of these completion frameworks. And Orderless is a must. That makes things searching with things in the mini buffer a great improvement, as well as FD diode for searching for files. So you can use ripgrep to actually search inside of files, and you can use FD to actually search for the files themselves. So check those out, and that's all for now.